shattering, burst through the clouds as you turn around. Faith is like searching for a soulmate who doesn't know is even around. And trusting that everyone you meet will be the one. It's blindly trusting that the patterns of the cobblestone protrude textures, points of neon afterglow as you snap fades like footprint light rays in the sculptures of sand that connect the torn pieces of the pencil and the sand in the texture.
Only my subconscious. Its skinny trees were gathered up, stretching towards their prayers in skinny bunches, creating different realms of mystery. I shuffled through the falling for a document for you to hold in all time, through infinity. Yes, that's a good idea. I'll get to work with that. But I do want the standards part discussed. We'll discuss it. I think we should hold a meeting. Redland, what do you think? Well, I've got some work to do on my food churning wheel. How about we'll have a meeting in 2 days? Is that okay? Yeah, that sounds good. All right, everyone. 2 days. That sounds fine, gentlemen. All right. Okay, then. Well, I'll see you in 2 days, and in the meantime, I guess I'll be thinking this over. Nice seeing you again, gentlemen. And Brodicus, it's nice seeing you return from your journey. Creation, away from the city of illusion, past the barriers of the war tribe, and finally by the desert of despair. I crossed the path of the small child seeking shelter and went on to the place where he resided in, away from his tiny shack in the middle of destitution. This place was a place almost beyond from where I had started from. It was a mystery forest I knew only my subconscious.
Shattering, burst through the clouds as you turn around. Faith is like searching for a soulmate who doesn't know is even around. And trusting that everyone you meet will be the one. Textures, points of neon afterglow as that fades profound, more profound. Yeah.
Different realms of mystery.
There's the fountains and ditches outside the streams we used to play in as children. Your own childhood villages once played in, connecting forever and everyone. Same cylindrical dream. Cylindrical dreams. Cylindrical dreams and days of cylindrical dreams that we turn to watch into a dream. Returning the cylindrical dreams back to the same stream.
I dreamt the devil was strangling me in my sleep. Then I suddenly saw my best friend as a guardian angel from high school hadn't spoken to me in decades appear out of nowhere to watch over me. Like a guardian angel, since I was afraid to go back to sleep in my dream. I guess Satan was angry that he couldn't convert me since I said a prayer in real life the day before I fell asleep, because it's hard to get through.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
All right, how are you?
Pretty good. My name is Chad Thomas. I'm here with the AFCW. I'm just out here today talking to folks in your neighborhood about the upcoming election.
Okay.
Are you Mr. H.R. Thompson?
Yes, I am.
Alrighty. Well, when thinking about the upcoming election, what issues would you say are most important to you right now?
The economy, healthcare. Actually, it looks really cold and rainy out there. Why don't you come in?
Yeah, it's on there. Yeah, if you don't mind, that'd be great.
All right.
Do it for you.
Have a seat.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure. Oh, the rising cost of healthcare has just gotten me down. No matter how much or how hard I work, it's never enough. And my wife has just had to file for bankruptcy just because of her healthcare needs. And it just doesn't seem to matter where or how much I work. I mean, I just settled for any kind of job I could do. So that means people are probably tired of it, complaining about it. A lot of people going through the same thing. It just doesn't seem like a college degree or intelligence is valued in society. Like no matter how much I work or how hard I work, it's never enough.
So, based upon your stance on that particular issue, who do you plan on supporting this year?
Well, I'm not sure. The last time I voted, the person I voted for didn't win. That was the person that got the majority winning amount of votes. So I feel like my vote doesn't really matter in the political process if the majority of votes that doesn't really win. And it seemed like the Electoral College was exploited. The person, I wouldn't, if I deliberately tried to vote against the person. So it would, I had no idea that my really political opinion doesn't matter because politicians don't usually talk about the issues as much that generally affect me. They don't really care about poor people, it seems to me. Maybe that's just a generalization. Maybe I shouldn't make blanket generalizations. But, I just have no respect for authority figures that care more about power and money than people's rights, in the same way that I don't respect people that don't, treat women equally with respect also either. It's just... It's hard to know who to trust.
Well, that all makes sense. The lady I just talked to before, a few doors down, well, speaking of the sexism, well, she plans on supporting Haberhausen this year. It was a known sexist, and she asked me why I'm not supporting him, and I'm like, you're a woman asking me why I'm, and I just, I didn't even know what to say.
Your mind was like doing backward somersaults, trying to figure out why. Yeah, it would be alright for a person to just, be sexist and people think they can dismiss that as their moral values instead of what...
My jaw dropped. Nothing came out.
That's hard.
I mean, I didn't know what to say. I just moved on. Then on to the next class.
The hypocrisy never ceases to...
I probably shook my head. Maybe she probably didn't even... Yeah, I was stunned. She was drunk, probably, anyway, a little bit.
It's hard, I guess that's...
It was a sign.
It's hard to know why people support the people they do.
I don't get it. I mean...
Yeah.
I still can't even put into words why I think I kind of wanted to twist my hair on it.
It's hard to know what people really stand for when they're just, you can't really make blanket generalized statements, but based on ignorance, we have to be able to make a decision. And so even though ignorance can limit people and their assumptions that get carried away, you cannot make a decision without judgment. So it's hard to know really what to trust about what anyone has to say.
So with your frustration with the current political system, almost at the point of making you not want to vote, what's the difference between the last candidate you did vote for as opposed to the ones that are running for office right now?
Well, I know it's not always about me, and I mean, I voted for candidates that didn't win before, but I mean, the first time I voted when I was in college, I believe I voted for Bill Clinton. I don't necessarily, I guess I tend to be, I don't want to be labeled as one party or another or turn into an argument about that. But the last time I voted in an election, that I voted for the person that won the majority of votes, and I felt ethically stood for the best interest of the democracy. I mean, the root word of liberty is liberal, and that shouldn't be a bad word. But the person, I never thought, I don't believe in corporate fascism. Corporations already have too much control, in my opinion. Yeah, corporate fascism is a term I kind of coined to describe how corporations have more power than the government sometimes, and that scares me. So I lost faith in the political democratic process, because not just because the last time the person I voted for didn't win, but I was trying to, it doesn't seem like politicals really, politicians really represent the issues, or they say they do. They don't really talk about the issues that affect me as much. I mean, they don't really care about us struggling. They seem like they want to care, but they're more about power and money than it's just no matter how much I work, my issues don't seem to matter to them. I never hear politicians talk about poets, musicians, or artists trying to make a living in society, trying to contribute just as much. They're just as important to culture as a lawyer, or a doctor, or a fireman, or a person who works at a store, or a gas attendant. They're all working hard to contribute. You can't limit someone just based on money. I mean, society doesn't necessarily always value intellectual potential, unfortunately. It seems like I wish they represented more of the issues. I mean, I'd like to see artists get careers with benefits, or musicians be able to get paid like other people enough to make a living instead of working 2 jobs and not making enough anyway, no matter how hard. It just seems like people end up with this really defeatist attitude because of that. Everyone's overworked and underpaid, which is a lot of the source of that problem are the corporations. They don't seem to really care. They'll pay the bottom line. This is what they can get away with, so the higher-ups can keep the more amount of money. It's not necessarily an equal distribution. We're all competing against each other instead of any incentives to help each other.
So I tend to agree, with your viewpoint on the political climate, I guess you would say now. I mean,
you don't have a defeatist attitude about it as much.
Not so much a defeatist. I mean, I'm still optimistic. I'm gonna, definitely actively participate like I am now and vote for sure. I don't even know the candidate I'm voting for, but what I'm curious to know is that how would you like to see the government, and by government also the person who gets elected next, what would you like to see he or she do in order to accomplish these particular goals?
Well, I mean, it tends to all be relative to how much of the invested interests they have been paid for the opinions that they support. And I don't want corporations to have more power than the government necessarily, because it's the government's job kind of to look after the people. But if we don't help, I used to be kind of anti-establishment, but I don't always trust it. But it seems like a system, if we help pay into, people don't always like taxes, but if they didn't pay taxes, they'd have to get out of their cars and fix the road themselves. And people don't always have to do that. So again, I wish politicians cared more about people and understood how hard it is for a struggling, person who works, sometimes they can't even get a full-time career with benefits. Sometimes they have to argue and struggle just to get more hours at a place, which isn't always up to them because the corporations seem to have more power than the government, which I think is more of the problem than the solution. So that's where I'm afraid it'll become too much. If the corporations have more power than the government, it's corporate fascism and it's not a democracy. People have to have the freedom to express themselves, and the more that's limited, I mean, I know they think you have to be safe with conservative values, and I believe in moral integrity and having good values, but censorship starves humanity with ignorance. And the more ignorance is amplified, then the wrong decisions are made. You can't make a good decision without all of the facts, even objectively, and I'm not even trying to be biased. I'm trying to keep an open mind, but it's hard to be optimistic when I lose faith in humanity, and it seems like the government just wants to censor and control everything with ignorance instead of letting people discover that people have the right to know and empower themselves with knowledge. Is ultimately the knowledge is power. Maybe the freedom of expression is what the government's afraid of. But I don't understand, never understood my whole life, ever since I was a kid, why there isn't a full-time career with benefits for an artist, a poet, musician, a philosopher. You go to school, you learn about these people, famous people that have written books. Everyone from Hemingway to Jack Kerouac to even scientific and psychological journals. I'm fascinated with psychology. I studied. I have a degree in Bachelor of Science in Telecommunications, but it just seems like instant gratification and a constant fast-paced technology, everyone is so impatient to always want something. You can't always depend on technology for everything. You have to learn to think outside of the box to empower yourself. I wish, politicians did more for artists and musicians and friends that I've seen struggle to the point of almost becoming suicidal. To be able to make a living just as legitimate to contribute to culture in that way as it is for a lawyer or a police officer or a judge or anyone else. I mean, everyone has their place. If artists can't make money, they can't survive, and then we don't have as much of a rich democracy when everything's limited to conformity, and fear is the real enemy. Just the kind of constrains creativity. When people are afraid to speak up, then you have to kind of fight. If you don't fight for your rights, you lose them, kind of. Even though, we shouldn't be made to compete that much. There should be more incentives to help each other. And, people should get, instead of just everyone for themselves, which kind of is what competition drives. is a result of capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Led into the industrial age where we had money and more free time.
capitalism took us out with the technological revolution.
Yeah,
But
but
the
now,
more we compete against each other,
and now you don't fund the arts anymore. I mean,
the government acts like they do, but it's
Some
more like
schools-
museums of artists that have already passed away. They
some
don't give
schools-
chances to new artists.
some schools don't really even have art programs anymore.
It's sad, I know, and it seems
Yeah.
like people psychologically need that freedom to express their creativity, to balance out the other. You know, I mean, not everything's math. We're not all computers and robots. And I remember there was a general distrust in artificial intelligence generally a while back, and now there seems to be more and more faith in that. Even though I've heard Stephen Hawking say that the single biggest threat to humanity is the putting too much faith in artificial intelligence and computers to run everything, and they'll decide that
You as a
humans are
scientist,
obsolete.
you're dependent
if
on
we do
it.
that.
Now that's an oxymoron.
Yeah,
isn't
to be
it?
dependent. I've always felt to being dependent on computers and technology too much, to the point when we need paper trails. If we're dependent on technology too much, we run the risk of us becoming obsolete. You know, you don't have to get the computer or the corporations all that power. There's, in order for the democracy to maintain, humans have to have an input. You know, we're all actors in this epic movie of life. Some of us are players and some of us are producers. Or you can learn from playing. You know, it's just, I guess, the competition capitalist game to become a producer. But ultimately, you want to enable yourself to not. I mean, not everyone wants to be dependent on others too. I believe in hard work, but if you're working hard and you're just spinning your wheels and not going anywhere, it gets to the point where, I mean, how much do you have to work when there's never enough anyway?
Yeah.
It's hard not to lose faith in that. I recently dreamt that I was being strangled. Then again, it's difficult to see the good in the world with so much greed, people struggling. I used to dream about flying through space and floating freely without fear, but now I just have these dreams about crashing in an airplane over Russia or something with all these multicolored submarines below me. It's just, it's hard to stay creative and free of fear. Same time when I'm facing reality on its own terms. Usually it just slaps me in the face, that is, but it's not that I can't function, it's just people, I'm more or less scared about people overreacting by false assumptions than I am of the truth itself. I am kind of a seeker of philosophical truths, so it's hard to, you don't want to give people false hope from another prophet when, people are conditioned to need financial profits instead, just for them to survive in society. And I guess you shouldn't complain about that. They say money makes the world go round, but it's just, there's too many struggling for not enough.
Money creates more problems than it's worth.
Yeah, they say there is a reason that it's the root of all evil. I've always felt kind of like that saying was true.
And then people overaccumulate wealth,
Yeah,
which means less people have any average wealth
yeah,
or
There's
enough income.
it's just economic slavery or economic inequality, which I equate with corporate fascism, but it's not necessarily always the corporation's fault, but you can see how it tends to be the ones that come out on top.
People
with money.
stop shopping at Walmart. It might help a little bit.
I don't know. Yeah, the people have to shop somewhere, right? They'll just find somewhere else, and then another corporation will come in and take over, which makes it harder and harder for the American dream, which is the small business owner, to thrive when corporations are monopolies that are dominating everything, which is the trend. I've always been afraid that corporate fascism was more the problem than the solution. I saw that coming years ago.
Then certain politicians, instead of rewarding small business, they get, well, not only not rewarding small business, but you're taking away from human beings who deserve health care. But instead of the government funding health care, they want businesses to fund health care. And how's a small business supposed to make it when they have to fund health care?
Seems like the bigger the monopolies, corporations would be able to afford that more than a small business.
And we're the only country in the world as advanced and large as we are, at that level of development. That doesn't solve this problem.
Yeah, it's ironic. There's something, too many chiefs and not enough Indians.
We also have more drug use.
No, there's not enough.
Too many chiefs, not enough Indians.
Too many chiefs, not enough Indians. Well, there's a lot of people. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
A lot of chiefs.
Well, the hypocrisy of
Not any Indians.
Yeah. It bothers me though that they seem to be able to raise the cost of living, but nobody is making an effort to raise the cost of living. So what's to stop them from making it so nobody can afford to exist anymore besides the 1% of the most rich CEOs and corporations? What do you think of the Illuminati and that conspiracy theory?
The Illuminati?
Yeah, I've heard about it. They
Like-
keep talking about how my friends think that it's ultimate secret society that controls everything, but I don't know if they have all the resources or all that much power.
Well, in Russia they call it the oligarchy. They're ruled by a few.
But I have heard that it was originally founded by
What?
intention of philosophical enlightenment to be free of the constraints of religion, to pursue other intellectual interests. But then that might have, there's always a little bit of hypocrisy in conspiracy theories too.
Yeah, maybe you just might be thinking too much into the Big Brother watching you type of thing.
But they're always watching us. I don't want them to control. They know they orchestrate what's on the internet, but that doesn't dictate what I post on Facebook. Then they cannot control everyone with fear because they can't watch everyone all of the time.
I think that there's a oligarchy that exists within our nation, but I don't necessarily believe in the theory that it's a what's the
You don't
word?
think they're using some technology to watch us, almost like
Well,
in a way?
I
to
think that's
control?
been proved that there are times, like specifically, as what they say, to try to catch terrorists or whatnot. But as far as like this conspiracy theory that they can watch every move that we're doing just for the sake of doing
Well, to
it.
control our marketing decisions and empower their
Yeah.
corporations, and even, I get that's the That's
So you think that's why we have our Forever Plus cards?
well, they manufacture
Well-
the disease so they can sell the cure. What's to stop them from using the rising cost of healthcare as general population control?
Yeah. You can say, well, let's hook them on heroin and we'll sell them more methadone.
Well, that's just that's kind of like the hypocrisy of the medical
So now-
establishment. That
now-
doesn't necessarily mean that the medical establishment wants to do that, but they shouldn't put that derivative in opiate. That's a whole other issue in so many of medications that they tend to sell, and then it's just hypocritical to make that and then other things illegal. And they socially accept cigarettes and alcohol, and cigarettes kills more people just because it's more commonly available.
And they tax that the most, even though it's poor people that tend to smoke more.
Yeah, they don't generally care about poor people. Maybe that's another way of general population control.
So let's raise their tobacco costs.
Yeah.
And lower their Medicare, Medicaid.
So the key solution, instead of focusing on all these problems, is how do we empower individuals to free from themselves when they're all at the mercy of the corporations and the invested interest anyway, in the first place.
Vote for a third party.
That might not get the majority because we're at the mercy of the majority,
Yeah,
whatever
right.
majority
Majority.
rules. Better watch what you say. They could be watching us right now.
Oh, you're right. Oh, shit. I didn't even... because that's something but Oh, well, I better get going.
Yeah.
Have a good one. Yeah. Like that?
Well, thanks for coming by.
Yeah.
Good talking to you. Good luck
Yeah.
on that. Out there. Be careful.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what you're gonna find. Okay.
I shuffled through the falling autumn. Your experience with your journey, which I'm requiring for a document for you to hold all, in all time. Yes, that's a good idea. I should get... up, stretching towards the crags, skinny bunches, creating different realms of mystery. I shuffled through the falling autumn leaves. In the midst of the red breeze engulfing all the trees. And I continued in this darkness until I came to a mobile home.
Luke. Make our way through the darkness.
Hey, over here! A nostalgic voice greeted me at the porch door, and so I stepped in. Find a row of dirty dishes, paper messes, scattered in a perfect collection for my ancient friend Peanuts. Cheerful and uninterrupted in mannerisms, my friend Justinian continued to clean, while being interrupted by Jedediah from the other room.